I want to use that word because it's quite off-putting and threatening, and it was also one of the best things that has happened to me in a long time. I discovered the life I didn't know I wanted. So I moved from a house of 4 acres of woods, and now I live on a little tiny urban lake. I'm very close to stores and the mall and things like that, but it's a tiny lake, and I'm a bird watcher, and I absolutely adore my little 605 square foot condo.
That's amazing. Really, and people talk about little houses now and things like that. And I had such a big home, and which of course I did sell after my husband passed away because it was silly to have 6,000 square feet for one person and a couple of animals. But I do have to say that you are probably one of the most spiritually centered, calm individuals that I know. You approach things in a very quiet and simple manner. Now, is that how you always were, or is that how you became?
That's how I became. I would have to admit that I was at one time angry, resentful of other people who had more than I did, wanted more than I needed to have at the time, and always felt lacking. And part of that was because I lacked inside. I didn't feel complete. At first, after my divorce, I was waiting for some nice guy to come along and marry my kids and me. And that was the big insight that I realized I was responsible for myself, and I was going to be on my own. And I was for almost 9 years when I met the man that I no longer live with. And it was quite an experience at age 68. I'll be 75 in September, to be on my own for the first time in my life, because when I got divorced, I had children I lived with. I had never lived alone, and I love it, and I'm not fearful. I really enjoy my solitary time, and I have good friends, and I have a whole new life that I just had no idea was out there.
Yeah, I
What
think
helped?
that, I think that's interesting because my husband passed away 9 years ago exactly. And people, of course, he always told everybody I'd be married within 5 minutes. And I have had no interest in that at all because I love my life.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything I do. I'm very happy. I go a lot of different places. I live in a lot of different places. And when I'm home, when I'm by myself, I like being by myself. And I've got my cats and I sit down, they're in my lap. In fact, when I do these radio shows, I have one cat who is my assistant producer because he's on every show. You hear him meow here and there. And
Aw.
yeah, and so he's Siamese, so he's talkative, and I really enjoy it, and I really don't want to give that up for anybody, truthfully. And I do have friends who I can see when I want to, and when I don't want to, I can always go by myself somewhere. I'm not afraid to do that. So I totally get what you're saying, and but in a different way, I always kind of lived alone until I got married because I did have a roommate here or there, but most of the time I lived by myself and I really enjoyed it. So I think that's very interesting to see that kind of transition for you. Now, your books, though, you've written about stress. You've written about healing through grief and crisis. You've written about customer service a lot. You've written about teaching others and persistence. What is your new book going to be?
It's for women, and it's called Show Up and Grow Up. It's basically about the power of big girl panties.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's funny. Um, One of the concepts, and I'm still storyboarding this. It's only a month old. Is a lot of times we call someone a ball baby. Well, I want women to go from being a ball baby to a ball buster. That's spelled BAWL. I knew you'd like that.
I do.
So for my speech, I'm going to have a clothesline with literal panties on the clothesline. And last week I found a pair of black lace bikinis that are about a size 5X or something.
Oh,
They're
wow.
monstrous. Yeah. And so one of my little things that I'll be writing about is size doesn't matter. And, so it's real quippy and funny. And another part will be about one size fits all and other myths. If you've ever bought a pair of tights that come halfway between your knees and your crotch, I mean, let's face it. So
Well, it's funny that you say that, because in all these magazines that talk about these people who have had this tremendous weight loss, and they've lost 150 pounds, or they've lost this, or they lost that, and I look at who they are now. In other words, let's say they're 5'4" and they're 135, 140 pounds, and they say they're a size 2 or a 4. Well, I know they're not a 2 or a 4. A 2 or a 4 who is 5'4" and 150 pounds or 135 pounds cannot fit into a size 2 or 4. And
no,
so
I could put one leg in a 2.
So I always wonder, who are they talking about? Because they certainly are not true sizes. So go ahead with your book. Tell us what else you were doing.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have 5 or 6 different styles of panties, and I'm going to do a survey, and I am going to ask women what they wear, and I am going to create something like a horoscope. This is your personality type. But we also want to have that special pair of big girl panties, and, it's metaphorical. But I think we need encouragement. If you remember when assertiveness training was really big and people would read a book and then they'd go out and just steamroll people, because sometimes when we try to change a behavior, we overdo that new behavior. And I want to talk about moving in a kind of straight trajectory toward the person you want to be, and that little bit of that fake it till you make it. I'm just really pumped about this book. I really am.
So how can people get in touch with you, Leslie? Where's the best way to reach you?
Probably LeslieCharles.com, and I spell my name Leslie, and then Charles.com, and people can send me an email through that address.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. LeslieCharles.com. I think you have so much to offer women, especially, who are doubting themselves or thinking it's over or feeling sorry for themselves or saying, I wish I shoulda, I coulda, all those kinds of things. I think what you're offering is a fantastic way for people to just feel good about themselves. So we have about just a minute left. Do you have a closing thought that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Look for the humor. Bad stuff's going to happen. Things are going to go south. And when they do, instead of getting upset or annoyed, get amused. Of course this would happen now. Of course that most cautious driver in the world won't get in front of me right now because I'm in a hurry and I'm running late. And if you start laughing at those things, you take yourself so much more lightly. And you can't imagine all the humor that awaits when you do that. I've practiced this for at least 20 years. And it has changed my life.
Yeah, you have to have a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, you're in deep trouble. So I hope you can hear from everything that Leslie's been through and what she's doing now and the accomplishments that she's had and the honors that she's had, that it can start out not too well, but it can end up just beautifully. So I really want to thank you for being with us today, Leslie. I really enjoyed having you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you real soon.
I am too, Gail, and I admire all the things you've accomplished in your life as well. So I just want to give a little bit of that back to you. You're one of my role models too.
Oh, thanks so much. And everybody
My
go to
pleasure.
lesliecharles.com.